Hi, I'm Pamela Crawford for Lechuza. Now that I have the balconera planter put together, it's time to plant. The strategy for planting is similar to what you have seen me use throughout this entire video series. I'm going to use a tall, spiky plant in the center, and I'm going to use smaller plants around it that are quite different. I'm doing a planter for shade, so I'm going to use my favorite, which are bromeliads, as the centerpiece plant. Then I'm using this one. This one is really fun. It's called a polka dot plant. It is pink polka dots on green, and it looks really nice with the pink bromeliad, and some green ivy to tuck in when we're done. The first step in planting is to take the plant out of the container. It's easy to do. You simply turn it upside down, pull it off, and it's off. The next thing to do is dip it in water. Now, all people don't do this. I do this simply because I like the root ball to be wet when it's planted, and secondly, when the root ball is really wet, it's almost like modeling clay, and it makes it really, really easy to place in a container. I'm going to leave it drain just for a second, and I'm going to put the potting mix in the container. We've already got this one almost full, but I want to point out something to you that's really, really, really important. It is critical for the success of your plantings that you buy potting mix, not potting soil, not garden soil. It's easy if you get to your garden center and simply look for a brand name you trust and the word mix. Potting soil and garden soil are too heavy for containers such as this, and your plants can drown. Now that we have a nice wet root ball on our bromeliad, I'm simply going to move this apart, tuck it in very lightly. I'm done planting the centerpieces now. It probably took me about 30 or 40 seconds. It's really, really fast. The second thing I'm going to do is take these little polka dot plants and tuck them along the front. And what I'm doing is leaning them against this front edge a little bit just to soften it. Our front border plants are now planted, nicely tucked over the edge, and I'm going to use the ivy to soften up the edges here, really in the corners. Once again, dip it in water, move back my potting mix a little bit, tuck my ivy in, take another ivy, do exactly the same thing on the other side, plant another ivy. You'll see me all the way through dipping my hands in the water. It's not only good to have the water here to soak your root balls, it's also really nice to have it to knock the dirt off your hands in between planting different plants in your potting mix. Once you're done planting, it's time for fertilizer. I like dynamite fertilizer because I really cannot goof up with it. You can't burn the plants with it. It's very hard to put too much. If you put a little bit, not enough, then it's still okay because it always seems to work. So all you do with this is put some in your hand like this and sprinkle it over the potting mix. You don't have to water it in, nothing. Now, this fertilizer is going to last as long as these plants do. These plants should last, the bromeliads are going to bloom anywhere from about a month to 3 months. The polka dot plants are going to go about 6 months. Ivy are going to go for years, but do not let them escape into your garden or you will never see any of your forests again. It will take them over. Now, as I'm looking at this, to me it looks just a little bit dark, and I've done this a lot with the Lechuza planters. We plant them first in what we think might work, and then we play around. I've always heard that women are able to change their minds. So let's see what happens if we change it from a brown to a white. Do you like it better? I do. I think the white really picks it up. This shows another advantage of the Lechuza liner system. You can change colors at will, and you saw how easy it was. Watering new plants in the Lechuza system is like traditional watering when you first start. The Lechuza self-watering system consists of the roots taking the water up from the bottom reservoir all the way into the top of the plant. The problem we've got right now is the roots are too small to be in the bottom reservoir. So I'm going to water it on top just like I would a regular plant. I was really careful about this when I first started, and notice when I'm watering that I'm covering all of the potting mix. I have the hose on a very gentle spray. I do not want to blow the little plants out of the pot. And notice as well that I'm really aiming the water at the roots of the plant where they need it, not spraying them all over the leaves. I don't know exactly how long it's going to take these roots to grow down into the bottom. But what we did when we first started is we were so careful. We went something like 2 months, and then we were lifting them up and we were unplanting and everything we could possibly do to see where are the roots. But what we ended up doing after a long time was kind of forgetting about it. We just took off the cap, went ahead and filled the water reservoir. And when it was the dead of summer and it was really hot outside, we just never seemed to have to water it on top again. But watch your plants pretty closely when you first start, because you want to be sure that they are getting the water that they're going to need. Watch that little water indicator go up. As the water indicator goes up, you know that the reservoir is filling. I'm going to put this container on the inside of my house. These plants are all good for pretty deep shade. Probably going to put it in the middle of a table where it gets some light from the overhead lights in the room, or you could put it in a window where it's getting some light from the sun. The most important thing about these containers is that you really enjoy them and you enjoy the beauty that you can get without having to work very hard. I'm now putting the cap back on the water reservoir, and I'm done. Thank you so much for watching.